This dashboard looks relatively straightforward. It's a breakdown of ALB activity, WAF actions, and then WAF actions overlaid with some Lambda functions and a count of different behaviors across the different stacks. However, not all this data is the same. You'll notice this little label monitoring here and here. What this means is that the dashboard is actually reading this directly from the archive. Let me show you. The rest of the dashboard updates more or less instantly, but you can see here that it takes just a few seconds longer for the ALB dashboard to update. So what I can do is I can actually investigate this a little bit further. What's actually happening here is I've set the data source to monitoring. This means that the archive is being investigated. The dashboard is reaching into archive data while it's still in the archive, and it's visualizing it. Now, you can't do this with our lowest level compliance, but you can do it with monitoring data. This means you ingest data with a 60% discount, but you can still visualize it dynamically in a dashboard alongside all of your index data. So in this case, I've taken my most verbose type of data, which is ALB access logs. I sent them straight to the compliance level, which means they get analyzed, alarms can be triggered, metrics can be generated, and so on, and then they're pushed into the archive, which is cloud storage in your account. But then they can still be accessed whenever we like, whenever we want. So if I pick a different time range, for example, the last 6 hours, you'll notice that everything updates, but these little yellow exclamation mark things appear here. This is indicating that the dashboard does not automatically update when you change the time frame because you don't want to be constantly running these queries and cancelling them. It takes a few seconds because understandably it's reaching directly into the archive with completely unindexed data, but it runs pretty fast. It runs faster than a lot of open search clusters actually that I've seen running in people's organizations. You can manually refresh, and that will refresh every single widget on the page. And you'll see here that this one updates very, very quickly because the data has been cached. Down here, it's taking a little bit longer because, again, it's reaching from the archive with a new time frame, but it works pretty fast again. So visualizing your archive data alongside your index data means you can get very, very relaxed about how much data you send to your archive because it's still accessible in multiple different ways. Remember, before we were talking about all logs mode. You can access this data directly if you want. Really, really powerful, really easy way of cost optimizing, but also just accessing a massive, massive, vast amount of data without having to index any of it or store any of it in high performance storage. So this dashboard is powered by a combination of high performance data, for example, in here, and longer term index data. This data can be held for a really long time, and what this means is that I can pick a very long time range. For example, I'll pick like the 1st of February until now and apply that. The rest of the graph will update, and you see it all ends there. And I will refresh the data on this, just to refresh just the one widget there. And you can see that they're all flagging partial data. Why are they flagging partial data? Because the index has run out for this high performance data. But this graph is going to reach into the archive and go as far back as it can. So it's going to go back as far back as this account has essentially been taking data and pushing it into an archive. So you can see it's loading there, and the data is actually loaded all the way back towards the end of February, so it's like a month old. So we're reaching back much, much further than is possible. Look at all that green line as it moves across, reaching back far further, including this particularly significant spike right here. So this just shows how much data can be visualized. One of our sales engineers, our head of sales engineering actually, talks a lot about drifts and trends. Drifts are these small changes that look significant at small scale, but they're difficult to track. Whereas trends are powered by long trails that have happened over sort of periods of months or years. It's very difficult to track trends with high performance index data simply because of cost and because of usability. But when you start to open up this direct archive query, you unlock the ability to access trends and see past drifts. You can see that this looks really significant in this time frame here. This data looks huge. But in fact, it's nothing in compared to what happened a short while before. This may well be a drift, and this is a trend. So this gives you an idea of a much, much more powerful contextual insight into what's happening in your data, powered by the kind of volume that Coralogix is capable of rendering at any one time.